Welcome to Alabama A&M Football Review with head coach Sam Shade. Highlights, exclusive team interviews, and behind-the-scenes access to Huntsville's only D1 program all season long. We're breaking down the plays, reliving the big moments, and getting you geared up for the next big battle. It's more than just football. It's 150 years of Bulldog pride. And now join us on our journey with our host, Ty Floyd.
Welcome to Week 5 of the Alabama A&M Football Review. I'm Ty Floyd. The Bulldogs lost to the Wildcats with a score of 41-34 in the SWAC opener. We'll discuss it and look ahead to the Gulf Coast Challenge against Jackson State with head coach Sam Shade.
Alabama A&M University is celebrating 150 years of Bulldog excellence. Join us for our Torchbearer Reception program, bringing together alumni, supporters, and friends for a year full of fundraising events. Each Torchbearer event has a goal of $25,000 in honor of 2025, and you can lead the charge. By becoming a Torchbearer host, you'll invite fellow Bulldogs to join the campaign and make an impact. Learn more and register today at aamu.edu.
Hi everyone, welcome to Week 5 of the Football Review. I'm Ty Floyd along with Alabama A&M head coach Sam Shade. Now coach, big picture, went down to Daytona, lost to the Wildcats 41-34. What did you see in that matchup?
Well, we knew going in that it was going to be a tough ball game. Offensively, they had, been scoring a lot of points, getting a lot of yardage, things like that. So we knew we had our work cut out for us, but at the end of the game, we had a chance to go down and tie the game up, and I just feel like we ran out of time. But, also we've got, our keys to victory, and we didn't meet some of those keys. Particularly, we didn't run the football well on offense, and we didn't stop the run on defense well enough to win the ball game.
Your offense came out aggressive. How do you feel about the way the group found rhythm on the road?
Well, I felt like, our offense did some really good things, particularly in the passing game, passing for 355 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was big for us. But, at the same time, we just didn't establish the running game the way we wanted to. And, we won time possession, but, by like a minute. And that was pretty much it.
Bethune hit a 79-yard touchdown pass in the first quarter. What broke down on that play, and what was your message to defense afterwards?
Well, we're an aggressive defense. We really are. We come out and we play aggressive. We play a lot of man coverage and things like that. And, that was just a play where, one of our defenders didn't do a good enough job of staying on top of the receiver, and their quarterback made a good throw and the receiver made a good catch. And so, they start off fast on us on offense, but, our defense, we just talked about, hey, you got to let that play go, can't get it back, just move on. And, that's what we did.
Bethune-Cookman scored 20 points in the second quarter. What challenges did they present that made it tough during that stretch?
Well, they were like they were on film. They were what we saw on film, same group that had over 500 yards against South Carolina State a couple weeks ago. They were balanced. The yardage passing was almost the same as the yardage rushing for them. But I think the difference was the quarterback run game, having to defend the quarterback in the run game. They made some plays with what we call speed option, where the quarterback has an option to run it or pitch it to the back. And we just didn't do a good job handling some of that stuff.
Eric Hanley hit Frank Pierre for a 72-yard touchdown. How important was that response at that point in the game?
Oh, that was big. It really was, particularly coming out in the second half of the ball game, him making that play. That was huge for him to make that play.
Hanley finished with 355 yards and 3 touchdowns in just his second career start. Talk about his poise and evaluate him stepping into that role.
Well, with Eric, I go back to spring practice. He came out of spring ball as our number 2 guy. We had a lot of confidence in Eric, but he just hadn't played much college football at all. So that was one of our concerns. But, once he got in there, particularly last week against Lane, and even back to the Arkansas game when he played a little bit, he really made some things happen. So, we got a lot of confidence in Eric.
We saw him connect with Big Play Trey for a touchdown. How valuable is it to have multiple weapons stepping up in the passing game?
Well, it's huge. It really is. Obviously, Frank Pierre had a big ball game. 2 touchdowns, 150 some yards of receiving yardage, and then Trey Abner had over 100 yards receiving. So both of those guys are weapons for us on offense.
We're going to step away for a quick break. When we come back, we have more on the football review.
Dear Bulldogs, look at you. 150 years of get up and go. And are you done yet? No. See, back in 1875, all we had was our belief. No voice, no right to dream. But now, everyone wants us on their team. So let's power forward and give back. With you on board, our legacy is right on track. Love the future.
Welcome back to the Coaches Show. I'm Ty Floyd here with Nick Glenn, big tank of our defensive line. How you doing, Nick?
I'm living my dream right now.
I know, that's right. Very blessed. So, Nick, this season you're being coached by Marco Coleman, a former first-round NFL draft pick and standout defensive lineman himself. How has learning under his direction shaped your technique and leadership on this line?
I want to start off by saying, last year I got just the opportunity. But after meeting Coach Coleman, he made me understand I need to take more than just the opportunity. I need to take advantage of it. And a lot of the lessons he teaches on the field is directly carried over to real life. And I want to say that he has helped me transition to becoming a man, getting ready to go out into the real world. And as far as technique-wise, he's been showing me how the big boys play the game, and it's just the fact that he believes in me so much. It's so hard for me to let him down. So I go out there and do everything I can for him.
You started as a walk-on and earned all-conference recognition this preseason. What mindset and daily habits helped you climb that ladder? And how do you now share that same grind with your younger players or just the rest of your teammates who are on the defense?
First thing, every walk-on I meet, I make sure I shake their hand, learn their name, because all of those guys are gonna have a story, end up having a story. And coming in, walking on, I didn't expect much, but you had to learn how to get used to grinding and making a play, but without a pat on your back about it. And I did it for a long time, and after a while, it was one semester where I had a nice balance. And my mom, she did everything she could to help me pay for that balance. And that's when I looked at her in her face and I told her, that's the last time you'll ever have to pay for my school. So as soon as we got a new coaching staff, I took advantage of every opportunity I could. And that's when I decided that I wasn't going to just be a victim of circumstance. I was going to be a product of my environment. So being a walk-on has really built the callus around my mindset and around my body that knowing I can do anything I want.
In your final season, how are you balancing the pride in your journey from a walk-on to a seasoned leader while still pushing yourself to raise those expectations for yourself and the entire defensive front?
A lot of the guys look up to me, and that's very new for me. Like you said, coming from where I did, it still feels like a dream to me. And sometimes I get taken aback by people asking me for advice. But then I realized that this is real and people expect a lot of me. So all I can do is bring the energy to the D-line and defense. And I try to make as much plays as I can, but by doing my part and not going above what I'm supposed to be doing. But I try to do it on and off the field and talk to guys outside of just football, get to know who people are. And that right there is going to help us become brothers on the field. And I can trust him that he's going to do his job, and he can trust me that I'm going to do mine.
The D-line thrives on unity and energy. How do you and your teammates build trust and consistency each rep, both in the physical sense and also in the mental sense?
Oh, we're each other's biggest critics. You got to be. If you're around people and they're not telling you what you're doing wrong, then you probably shouldn't be around those people. We hold each other to such a high standard, but it's good. It's good critiquing. It's love critiquing, and I tell them to get on me. I don't like running, but I make sure I get pushed and they get pushed. No matter what we're doing, we're pushing each other, whether it's in the classroom, on the field, or even if we go bowling. It's just, I create that family atmosphere on every D-line I've had.
What's one piece of your story, whether about family, faith, perseverance, or something personal, that you want fans and teammates to truly understand about who Nick Glenn is?
We walk by faith and not by sight. I had to learn that playing for everybody And don't get sidetracked to what you see, what they're getting, what's happening for them. What is for you is for you. And don't let that deter you from what your mission is.
If at the end of the season someone says you left everything you had on the field, what would have had to happen to make you feel like you truly did everything you came to do this season?
We finished with some hardware at the end of the season. I get to come back in the spring and come pick up my hardware. That's when I truly feel satisfied. And I plan on giving them everything I got for my last win. It wasn't promised to me, so I'm gonna take it.
All right, Nick, look in the camera and give a message to Bulldog Nation.
Bulldog Nation, it's been rough, but better days are coming, and it gets greater later. But it just so happens that later is right now.
Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs.
Welcome back to another edition of 100 Yards with Brian Howard. I'm joined today with the running backs coach for the Bulldogs, Jamal Fobbs. Coach, it is great to have you on.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Coach, you come to the Hill from a very long list of coaching accolades, but you previously had spent time with Coach Shade. What was that experience like?
The experience at Miles, I thought was really, really good. Coach Shea gave me an opportunity, to be a coordinator at Miles, and just knowing him from our history of, in recruiting battles against each other, along with playing, against each other, I kind of knew, who he was as a coach, who he was as a man. So it was right on point with what I was trying to get done in that part of my career, of actually, wanting to be a coordinator and actually, having an opportunity to do it full-fledged. And Coach Shea gave me that opportunity. It was great. We had, our ups and downs in those 2 years there.
Right.
But it ended up for us being able to learn a lot and being able, to be successful and do a lot of good things.
You've obviously been at a lot of stops. What are some of your favorite stops that you've been at?
One of my favorite, of course, was the 6 years I spent down in New Orleans at Tulane, of course, because that's where I went to high school.
Right.
And also my father, was one of his first college jobs. It wasn't the actual first, but it was kind of early in his college coaching career.
Right.
That was one of my favorites. Also, my mother liked living there. The other one, was an opportunity to work, in the SEC, at the University of Tennessee. Those places, had a great staff there, and guys, gave me a wealth of knowledge, to be able to take throughout the rest of my career.
Obviously, you talked a little bit about your father, Lee. He played professionally in the NFL. Your brother, Broderick, played at Grambling, coached at Grambling. Talk about how big of an inspiration they have been.
Well, they've always kind of paved the road, for me, just kind of being behind, my brother and my father. They've kind of shown me, the direction, kind of the way to go and the way not to go. And, I've always known coaching was going to be, in my, in what I wanted to do, because one, it's been a part of us and it's been part of our lives for our entire lives. And so, it's been good, to have those two gentlemen in front of me, just to kind of set the example of, how the profession is going to be, and also some of the expectations from profession.
Coach, talk about this running back core. Obviously, you got some running backs coming back, some transfers coming in. What do you like about them?
I like them because, they're a good, cohesive group. They're team guys. None of the guys are me guys. That's important in a team sport. They're asked to do a lot of different things, in our offense, and, all of them are willing. Some guys do things better than others. So, we as a coaching staff have to put each guy into situations, where they'll be able to be successful the most for our football team. And I think that's what, brings us together the most, because they know everybody has a part in this whole thing.
Coach, lastly, we'll get you out of here on this one. I'm a food guy. What is your favorite kind of food that you like?
Man, well, really, my favorite food really is time of the day is breakfast. So I can eat breakfast 3 times a day, but I mean, I'm definitely a grits and eggs and a really good, great biscuit. And I'm really good for the day.
Coach, thank you again for joining me on 100 Yards with Brian Howard. I wish you nothing but the best this season.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We are Alabama A&M University, a world-class institution where future leaders prepare to make their impact on the world. Here, education isn't just about learning, it's about leading, with nationally recognized programs in STEM, agriculture, business, and the arts. We are inspired by our rich heritage and bold future, carrying the spirit of the Hill with excellence. Alabama A&M University. Start here, go anywhere.
Welcome to the football review. I'm Ty Floyd alongside Sam Shade. So let's talk about defense. Gave up some explosive plays and over 250 rushing yards. What do you need to see from that unit to respond as SWAC play continues?
Well, we got to play better on defense. 5 of their 6 touchdowns were explosive plays, plays over 20 yards. So, I mean, we can't, we can't have that happening to us defensively. So we've got to get better as far as limiting the explosive plays.
Penalties extended some of Bethune-Cookman's drives. How do you address that going into practice this week?
Well, actually, we only had 4 penalties for 50 yards, but like you said, a couple of those did extend drives, and so that's just something we just got to keep working on. But we did limit that number from what we've been having previously.
There have been multiple players sidelined to injury. How has the overall roster been adjusting, and what's your message to the team about handling adversity?
Well, first off with the injuries, we got a next man up mentality here where, a guy goes down, just like Eric Hanley stepped in for Quad Brown and, did some really good things in the ball game. And, we've got some other areas where we've got some guys that have been out that haven't played in the past few games. And, our guys have just really had to step up.
In the final quarter of the game, momentum was going back and forth from each sidelines. How do you feel about the way your group handled the closing moments?
Well, I felt like offensively it was good to move the ball down and, be able to kick the game-tying field goal when we kicked it. And then, defensively we come out and, I thought we were going to be able to hold them because they actually hadn't scored on us since early in the third quarter and felt like defense was doing an okay job. I thought we'd, get a stop and get off the field and be able to go down and, win the game on offense. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get a stop on defense, gave up another explosive play for a touchdown. But then offensively, we got the ball back, moved the ball down the field, and I really just felt like we just ran out of time offensively.
You have a number of freshmen like Mekhi Maddox, Jordan Chambers-Smith, as well as David Falk. They have come into the game. They have been an important part of it. What can you say about their growth and maturity as the season continues to progress with them being so young?
Well, I feel like all those guys have really taken some big steps, particularly David yesterday. He had the 2 field goals that he made and also made all of his extra points. And so just felt like he really stepped in and stepped up for us as a true freshman. And, then the other 2 receivers that you talked about, Jordan Chambers-Smith, he's been doing it all year for us, making plays. So really proud of those guys.
Now that conference play is here, how does the urgency shift for your team moving forward?
Well, it started on Saturday. We went into that ball game and we threw the records out and we said, it's the start of a new season. We're 0-0 going in and, we just didn't get it done on Saturday. But, like I told the team after the game on Saturday, there's a lot more football to be played this season. And, we just got to keep playing and put that one behind us.
Next week, we head down to Mobile for the Gulf Coast Challenge, taking on the reigning Celebration Bowl champions, Jackson State. What stands out about them on field and what kind of tests do they present?
Well, very talented ball club on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams. We're really going to have our work cut out for us. They went down to Southern on yesterday and played a good Southern team, and it was close in the first half, but, Jackson State pulled away in the second half. So we've just got to, work our butts off to get ourselves ready for this ball game this week and, go down to Mobile and, try to come back with a win.
As you turn the page to practice this week, what's the number one area you want to see corrected before heading to Mobile?
Well, I've been saying it the past couple of weeks, we've got to be able to establish the running game better offensively. And then defensively, we've got to stop the run. I mean, we got to do a better job. We gave up 259 yards on the ground, so we've got to be able to stop the run on defense. And, we've got to limit the explosive plays defensively. We gave up 5 of them for touchdowns in the ball game on Saturday, so that's just not good enough.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Excited to head down to Mobile. Make sure to stay connected with us on all of our social media platforms for your latest in Bulldog news. And as always, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for watching the Alabama A&M Football Review with head coach Sam Shea. Your support is important to us and the outstanding student athletes here on the Hill. We encourage you to support the entire athletic program and become a season ticket holder, or be a part of something much bigger and become a torchbearer. Visit AAMU.edu for more information. Until next time, stay connected and go Bulldogs!